So, welcome back to another episode of the BiohackerBlondie Podcast. I am really excited because we are here with Sam. You are the founder of Liquivida, and your past, you were a firefighter, paramedic, and you have such a beautiful story of how you transitioned into entrepreneurship. So, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. We're going to get all into IVs and your wellness clinic because it does so much. And so, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day. And if you can give a little intro, and how did you go from a firefighter, paramedic to entrepreneurship to owning all these wellness clinics?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me here to begin
Yes.
with. It's always a pleasure to be able to get the word out, especially when it comes to helping people with their health and wellness, right?
Yeah.
Um, so, how did I get here where I'm an entrepreneur with multiple locations throughout the nation? It's truly, where my passion started, which is helping people in a time of need. So, early on, I was a swim instructor and also lifeguard. That's what I was
Oh.
doing when I was in high school.
Oh.
And I just love the lifeguarding part of it, like, the rescue, helping someone when they're in the time of need. So when I was in high school, I told myself, I says, well, what am I going to do when I grow up? And really, what I really wanted to do was become a ER doctor, a trauma surgeon.
Mm.
Well, I was a C average student. That wasn't going to happen. It's just like I came to reality in high school. A lot of things came to reality where I said, you know what? I love playing baseball, but I'm not getting a scholarship and I'm not going to go play professional ball. So I got to do something that's going to be productive versus just keep on trying to play baseball. Same thing with the doctor thing. So for me, when I was moved down here to Florida, which was my senior year in high school, I found out that Florida had firefighter paramedics where they're duly trained. They're not volunteer like how it is up north,
Mm.
and they get a really good salary, right? The starting salary at that point in time was like 65,000 a year. It also included all the benefits, pension. You could retire after 20 years. Says, wow, that sounds pretty cool. Plus, you work this unique schedule where you work 24 hours on and you're off for 48 hours. So that was my choice. So right after high school, I went straight into EMT school, did paramedic after, and then went to the fire academy and became that so-called hero, right? To have the most rewarding job ever as a firefighter paramedic. And fast forward a few years later, I found out that that job really wasn't as fulfilling as what I thought it would be, right? And the reason why is about 90% of the 911 calls that I was getting was me being a product to the broken medical system.
Mm.
And what I mean about that is, when you work for a municipality, you get to know the residents that live in that city quite well, right? Every time they call 911, you go to their homes, right? From the first time they call 911 to the second time to the third time to the fourth time, all the way you basically experience their entire health journey and you see
Wow.
what's happening. So, on my days off from the fire department, one of the things that I was doing to supplement my income, I started working with a company called Cenogenics. So
Mm.
Cenogenics, they were the pioneers in functional medicine and doing a
Mm.
lot of the executive physicals. So my business mentor, my mentor in the functional medicine space was their chief medical officer, Dr. Robert Willix, who was a heart surgeon who left heart surgery to prevent people from actually going on the operating table.
Wow.
So what I started seeing throughout the years of working both jobs, right? I started seeing people that were starting to get sick, and we would take them to the ER, to the quote unquote experts, right? To the doctors. And don't get me wrong, there's a lot of good things they do in these hospitals as well. But what I started seeing is these patients just get on more medications, and their health just circled down the drain.
Wow.
But then on the other hand, on my days off, working with Dr. Willis, who's a functional medicine doctor, where I started seeing patients that were not just starting to get sick, these people were sick with autoimmune issues, cancer. And I started seeing Dr. Willis reverse these diseases.
Wow.
And I said, there's a huge disconnect on the two ways that people are practicing medicine here. And that's where I told myself about 6 years being in, where I said, you know what, I have to really do something bigger. And it's not here in the fire department. I have to really look into this functional medicine stuff because that's where my passion's at. And I told myself, I says, you know what? That's where my God-given purpose will be, is on the functional medicine side. And that's where Liquivida came to fruition. Dr. Willix was actually one of the partners. And I say was because he passed away at the age of 80 right before COVID.
Oh, wow.
Um, but yeah, so that was kind of like what triggered me to get into the whole Liquivida thing.
What did you see as a paramedic dealing going to people's homes all the time? What were the common health issues you would see?
Number one thing is lifestyle.
Mm,
That the daily habits that these people were doing, what they were eating. You go into these homes, and I worked in a very metropolitan area, right? So inner city, and you'd go to their homes, you see what's in the kitchen. You see the
uh,
boxes of the ultra processed foods. People are heavily obese. They're not exercising, and the thing is, it's not even their fault, right?
mhm.
They've just never been taught.
Wow.
So if we change the narrative of when we speak to these patients, when they do come to the ER and talk about lifestyle, about things that they have to do to change the trajectory of their health, I think a lot of those people would still be around today.
It's crazy because prevention doesn't have to be extreme IVs, exosomes, peptides, even lab work. Like, really, like what you're saying, a lot of people struggle with their health because they're not doing the basics.
Right.
It's so crazy. And food is the foundation of your cells, your health, everything. And it's hard to get out of that system. I mean, I don't know if you know like Casey Means, but he talks a lot about the whole system and how it works. And they kind of thrive on, education, hospitals, these big food companies. And they will kind of implement their processed food to these specific areas or people that really have no other option.
Right.
It's so crazy, and it hurts because it's just like a broken system, and you know that fruits, vegetables, real, meats and can be so beneficial. And, yeah, it's a whole thing. So you decided to say, "I wanna be an entrepreneur," to starting all these clinics, which is not easy. And Liquivida is not just IVs, it has all kinds of modalities and devices and aesthetics.
Right.
So how has your journey? Where did you first start? And what were the difficulties for starting this company?
Well, when I first started, this was just supposed to be a part-time gig on my days off from the fire department to supplement my income. It wasn't supposed to be what it is today. And I had no plans on making it into like a real business. So the first Liquivida, so the first Liquivida was inside of an existing wellness center.
Okay.
So it was Dr. Howard Newman. He was a chiropractor, but he was a chiropractor that practiced a lot of Eastern medicine. So
Mm,
his actual clinic was called East West Physicians.
mm,
So what he did was taking a lot of Eastern and Western medicine and integrating them together. So he had a bunch of stuff there: chiropractic, acupuncture, hydroclonic therapy. He did pain management, where he had a medical doctor doing different type of PRP injections. He did some aesthetics. He had different lasers, and the one thing he wasn't doing was IV therapy. So I went to his office. It was nearby my house, just a few blocks away. And I walked through his beautiful office, and he had this big room in the back that had all this like physical training equipment, but he had no physical therapist. So
mm.
this equipment was just collecting dust. So I said, Dr. Newman, I said, I got a business proposition for you. How about if we convert this whole thing back here to to an IV lounge, and we start offering these vitamin IV drips, which back then no one was
Yeah,
really
what
offering it.
year was this?
This was 2013.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
yeah,
Wow.
2013. So, I told him, I said, "I'll work the business myself on the days I'm off from the fire department, and I'll give him, 20% of whatever revenues come in." So for him, it was like winning the lottery. I got this young, motivated, guy who's willing to put in a few $100s to, build out this room, who's willing to work the location. I don't have to pay him a salary because he's gonna just work on the revenue that's coming in, and he gets 20% for doing nothing. So, it worked. We shook hands. We made it happen, and it was the best way to start the business because I was able to create the minimal viable product.
Mm,
So I didn't have to pay for rent because, he owned the building.
smart.
I didn't have to pay for a medical director. I didn't have to pay for any utilities or internet or anything like that because he already had it. So
Wow.
all I had to do was take the little bit of money I had as a fireman and then put it into things to drive new customers or, put it into certain marketing techniques to convert the existing patients he had to do IVs. And that's where, as we started doing it, we were doing no marketing. And people
Wow.
were contacting us that lived like about an hour and a half to 2 hours away to come get these IV drips. I said, well, what is this? Why are people calling from 2 hours away to get these IV drips? And, people who are very sick, they start researching of the benefits of doing IV vitamin infusion. And if there's not that many places nearby, they'll travel an hour and a half or 2 hours to get these IV drips. So that's where I said, you know what? We got something here. Let's make something out of it.
Wow. That is so amazing. So you started in this little room doing IVs. And what was your journey from learning about IVs? Because I know too, your company is all about quality of IVs. So can you say what makes a good IV and the quality?
So yeah, so when you look at the IV hydration space currently, um, a lot of people are just going based off of whatever protocols they kind of find online. Back then, a lot of that stuff wasn't even available, so I was taking a lot of these accredited courses through some of the I call them the OGs of IV
Mm,
therapy. So these are the doctors that have been doing it from like the Myers cocktail days,
yeah.
of when they created them. So I actually learned from Dr. Mitchkin. He's based out of Boca Raton. He was teaching for the A4M for quite a while. He
Mhm.
does his own symposiums now, and then also Dr. Guy De Silva, which these are guys, functional medicine doctors that really dive deep into IV vitamin therapy, right?
Okay.
And they're treating all kinds of autoimmune issues, doing chelation to remove toxins out of the body,
Mm,
phosphatidylcholine
mm,
therapy, all of these type of therapies to really help metabolic disease. So when I took all these classes with a bunch of other doctors, I really started learning what's good, what's bad, what's working for these doctors, really reading all of their case studies of what's
wow.
happening with their patients and how
Yeah.
they're treating mold and Lyme and all of these things. But the interesting part is when we started doing IV therapy, this is back in 2013, the way that we did IV therapy, you'd have about 20 to 30 multi-dose vials, right? And you'd have to take 1 milliliter out of this vial, another milliliter out of the other vitamin vial, and you have to create these concoctions.
Mhm.
So, we're talking about water soluble vitamins, minerals, and amino acids. Where most people say, "Oh, it's water soluble. You can't, if you take too much, you'll pee it out." When you go intravenously, that's not how it works. You can
Oh.
overdose, right?
Mm.
You give a patient too much zinc, you could cause irreversible hearing loss. So,
What?
right. So these small things that I started learning, I says, well, hold on one second. If this business is going to scale, there has to be some kind of like like something to prevent this type of nonsense
Yeah.
from happening. God forbid if a nurse puts a little bit too much zinc and I got a patient with irreversible hearing loss.
Wow.
You give a patient too much potassium, what is that? That's lethal injection. You'll kill him. That's
Wow.
what they give in
Yeah.
lethal injection. So as a fireman, we have something in the fire department that's called everything has to be fireman proof. It's a
Mm.
fancy word for idiot proof. So I said, "Well, we have to make this fireman proof." So part of that was in the fire department. Whenever we have these emergency calls, like a patient with a dysrhythmia or a patient in cardiac arrest, we're in the back of the rescue truck and it's moving, and a lot of things are going on. It's an emergency. People are screaming, family members. So in the fire department, most of our medications are pre-measured and pre-dosed,
Mm.
right? So you just open up the package and then you just give it as an IV bolus. It's
Mhm.
already calculated. So you're not there doing these calculations, creating the
Under
osmolarity
stress.
of the bag and everything else. So I says, well, that's what we need to do with the IV
Mm.
solutions. We got to take based off data, what are the most common formulas that patients need and create them in packages that are pre-measured and pre-dosed. So
Mm.
now medical providers have a selection of different formulas depending what the patient needs.
Was that common back then or no?
No, it wasn't. I
Okay.
developed it. So,
Wow.
and that's what created our vitamin infusion IV kits and packets that we have. And we pride ourselves from it being the best, highest quality product on the market. Number one reason is that our products are the only products that are preservative free,
Wow.
right? So when you use a multi-dose vials means that you're going to utilize it multiple times. So they
Mm.
put preservatives in there so bacteria, viruses, mold don't grow inside of that vial the more you penetrate through it, right?
Mhm.
The problem with that is most people say, well, the preservative is benzyl alcohol. It's not that bad for you. We all know alcohol is a toxin, right?
Yeah.
So when we're doing IV nutrition and we're doing like high dose vitamin C or glutathione, what is the main purpose of that? Is to reduce oxidative stress, to reduce inflammation, right? And get our patients better. So
Mhm.
when you have patients that are already immunocompromised, cancer patient, autoimmune patient, and you're giving them preservatives in a 50 ml vial, you're giving them 50 mLs of benzyl alcohol that's in there. Well, that's going to cause oxidative stress. That's going to increase inflammation. It's going to be
Wow.
completely counterproductive to what we're trying to achieve.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is, I don't think most people are thinking of this. Is this common for other IV clinics or is it just yours without the preservatives?
It's not common. So we sell it from our pharmacy division to over 4,000 doctors nationwide
Wow.
that utilize our
That use
products, right?
IVs.
But
Okay.
for over 4,000 doctors, clinics is there's a heck of a lot more. I would say about 80 to 90% of the IV clinics that are out there are utilizing the multi-dose vials, and that
Wow.
needs to change.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone knows. I didn't even know about this. I thought they were all just the same. People are not thinking about preservatives when they're thinking about their IVs. They're just thinking they're getting their vitamins and
Right.
everything. So now you've been around the health space. You said, are there certain IVs for mold or Lyme that you have seen be very beneficial? Because
So
you mentioned that. So those
yeah,
are two big topics.
they are. They are. So, and it's a combination of it's not just one thing, and comes down to the different nutrients. And
Mm.
we've used everything from even hydrogen peroxide
Mhm.
intravenously.
Mm.
We've worked with Lyme patients utilizing that. We've worked with other products like we use silver hydrosol that we could give intravenously that
Oh,
can kill any kind of
interesting.
viruses, bacteria inside of the body. It's a positive ion. Um, and
Wow.
then,
Do you do this at Liquivida or just the
we do it at our
doctors?
corporate stores, yeah, but
Wow.
it's not one of those things where you could just walk in and says, "Hey, I want that."
Yeah, yeah, it's
Obviously,
more
it's
on the
a yeah, it's a
medical.
clinical treatment.
Okay.
So, but then, the biggest part when we're talking about detoxifying the body from a lot of these toxins that they
Yeah.
have is like, for example, mold, right? Is the number one thing we wanna start doing is enhancing the detox pathways.
Mm.
So how do we do that? When we start looking at biochemistry wise of how to do that, glutathione, right?
Mhm.
Alpha lipoic acid,
Mm.
vitamin E, ascorbic acid, vitamin C.
Yeah.
All of those things are important.
Your
So,
bio. All people are
mhm,
not thinking about the whole passageway and then, charcoal or any of those binders to really get it out of your
right,
system. So it's like a whole process. But I do think so many people are struggling with mold toxicity. I think that is a big, big issue that most people have symptoms. And unless you're really told to take the test, they'll never know. And then most people who are testing are finding out they have mold toxicity.
right.
It's massive.
It happened to me.
You had
Yeah,
mold?
it happened to me. I had two types of mold, and I was surprised because
I
I'm the health
know.
guy. How's that possible? And I did it. It was should no Vibrant Labs. I did.
Oh,
They
yeah.
had the
Mhm.
test, and it came back. I was like, all right, sign me up for the EBO2.
Okay, so
Let's
you
do
did
that.
do that.
I did the EBO2, and then a bunch of other stuff that I do as well. So,
Yeah, I think that's anyone who has mold, that's been so super beneficial, and then also sweating a lot.
oh,
I
infrared sauna for sure.
yeah, like that's really beneficial. Um, and also you dealt with, you've been with your previous doctor for cardiovascular health. So I'm curious too, that's a really hot topic as well, where I do see a lot of people with high levels of cholesterol and everything. So Is there anything that you have seen that has been working for patients or that can be beneficial?
Yeah, so our former chief medical officer who passed away, Dr. Willix, who was my mentor, he was a heart surgeon.
Yeah.
So he had a very strong passion for cardiovascular health. And then our current chief medical officer, who's my partner, Dr. Christopher Davis, who speaks at all the conferences, he's a
Okay.
cardiologist, interventional cardiologist.
Wow.
So obviously he has a very strong passion for cardiology as well too. So yes, there are different type of treatment interventions that we do for cardiovascular health. So first, we always start off with the diagnostics. We want to see exactly what's going on.
And this is the clinical side of Liquivida?
It is,
Because I
yeah.
think even for me, initially, it's IVs. Everyone thinks I
Yeah,
think just
we're very
IVs
well known for
initially.
IVs,
So
absolutely.
you do a lot more at the clinic.
Yeah,
So there's the clinical health functional medicine side.
yeah, so I'll
Okay.
touch up on that. So we're very well known for our IVs because we started with IV nutrition.
Uh-huh.
Liquivida, liquid IV vitamins for life is kind of what Liquivida stands for. And when we got into the distribution side to sell the actual product to doctors, so the whole industry really knew us for the IVs. But Liquivida has actual longevity clinics. The
Mm,
longevity clinics, yes, we offer our IVs, but we have a magnitude of other type of diagnostics, services, treatments, and
lab
everything else.
testing.
Yeah, yeah. We have a DEXA scan at our facility. We
Wow.
have a VO2 max. We utilize Pinoy. We were just talking about
Mhm.
them earlier. We do RMR. We do max pulse, hyperbaric,
Wow.
infrared, sauna, cold plunge. Full IV lounge. We do medical aesthetics, all the different type of lasers you could think of, stem cell therapies. We
Wait,
we we
how
do
many
quite a bit.
clinics offer this?
So our corporate locations have Dr. Davis, his location, and
Okay.
Sarasota has all of it plus more. Obviously him being the chief medical officer,
Okay.
and then the majority of our clinics offer, for the most part, the majority of these services. So, and we have clinics all throughout the United States.
Okay. Amazing.
Yeah.
So back to cardiovascular health.
Yes.
Because I think especially after COVID too, I think that really could maybe change things for the plaque and our arteries and everything. So is there any recommendations and things that you've seen that are beneficial?
So this one's a very important one for anyone who's listening to the podcast to just start doing a little reading and research. So we do an IV treatment of phosphatidylcholine, right? It's called
Mm,
Plaquex is the brand name.
wow.
And what that does is it's lipid membrane exchange therapy, right? So it basically can help clean the membrane, right? That holds onto a lot of those DNA adducts, the toxins.
Wow.
So, Dr. Davis, what he likes to do the phosphatidylcholine. He does glutathione injections as well, IV drips,
Hmm.
in combination with EBO₂,
Wow.
and sees a tremendous effect. But one of the first things that he likes to do is a diagnostic to really see what's up with their cardiovascular health. And he does a scan, a CT scan called Clearly.
Yeah, that's
And
great.
this scan, it is amazing. What you can see inside of the actual vessels of how much blockage, and it
Small
has
plaque, and they
this
it says sees
everything,
everything. Have you
everything.
done it?
I haven't done it personally just yet. I actually just last week reached out to one of our operation directors that says, "Hey, can you get that book for me? I just want to see." I'm
Yeah.
young. I'm only 38, but I was like, you know what? I've had friends that went to grade school with that have actually had heart attacks. I was like, "Well, let me get it done."
I mean, as you know, prevention you promote, and I think a lot of this stuff starts when you're young and builds up, builds up, builds up. And
Right.
I'm seeing this in a lot of biomarkers and in young people. I'm not sure what's going on, but a lot of people have high cholesterol, have a lot of plaque in their arteries, and it's scary. I'm grateful most of my biomarkers are in good range. I just got great news from all my testing from yours today, which was exciting.
Amazing.
Because it's not a lot of people are not doing the full lab panel and realizing things are out of range,
Right.
So have you had any health struggles in your past and what have you worked on anything recently?
Yeah, so one of the serious health struggles that I had was when I was in the fire department still, and I was
Mm,
working both businesses. And in the fire department, you're always in that fight or flight mode, right?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of sleep deprivation as
Oh,
well too, because you sleep there for 24 hours, but a lot of the times you're getting called out for an emergency in the middle of the night. So you're going from complete rested heart rate to all of a sudden you're inside of a burning warehouse and your heart rate's the highest it's ever
wow.
been. So I was suffering from a severe adrenal fatigue,
Wow.
and it got to a point where it was almost irreversible. And when it gets to a point where it's almost irreversible, you could be on medication for the rest of your life. So fortunately, through different type of treatment modalities, including high dose vitamin C, I
Mm,
was able to correct it. But it took quite a bit. I had to learn certain things that I was just never doing back then. One of them was meditation and breath work.
mm.
That really helped, start stabilizing myself, regulating my hormones, grounding, all of those things took a huge effect on the outcome of correcting the issue of severe adrenal fatigue.
Yeah, I can imagine. Like all the paramedics out there, I can only I've heard too a lot of their testosterone is low because
Oh,
they're
yeah.
not sleeping.
Mhm.
So I just think there's so many health issues for these paramedics, firefighters, where I wish it was all free and they can do all this lab panels,
Yeah.
because they are putting their lives at risk and everything. So back to Liquivida. So you guys offer so much. So can you kind of just give a little broad explanation of everything you guys offer? Because you guys offer HRT and chemical peels and
Yeah.
all this stuff. And do you use all these things like daily? I mean, are you just constantly testing yourself, doing an IV every day? Like,
So, it's funny you ask that because it was like, "Oh, you must do everything out of your clinic because you own it." I was like, "Well, I don't do everything because I don't do lip fillers." That's one thing I don't do. So, but for the most part, a lot of the different peptides and the wellness modalities, I try them. If they
Okay.
make sense, if I need them, if it's medically necessary for me to use it, or if I'm going to have a benefit. So, to give you a quick overview of Liquivita and what we offer, so we put people through what we call as the Vita journey,
Mm,
right? So the
okay.
Vita journey consists of 5 different pillars. And these 5 pillars are the wellness side, which includes the IVs, it includes the lab testing, it includes HRT, things
Mm,
of that nature. Then we have our medical weight loss division, which is a division of its own,
mm,
where it's medically supervised weight loss, which includes coaching and nutrition. We also do make certain recommendations with personal trainers. We work with personal trainers as well
oh,
too.
nice.
We're doing continuous glucose monitoring on
Nice.
them, and then we're utilizing different type of supplements and also peptides to help the weight loss process.
Okay.
So, part of that weight loss process also includes the different diagnostics where we don't just look at a scale, we're looking at true body composition analysis, meaning that we're utilizing tools like a DEXA scan or an
Mm,
InBody to
mm,
really see what your body's made up of. So that's our second division. Our third division is our medical aesthetics division. So medical aesthetics division includes all of the, neurotoxins, dermal fillers, the different lasers, PRP.
mm.
We do PRP injections, microneedling.
What
We
about
also
Acorn? Have you heard of Acorn?
Yes, actually, I'll be interviewing them on my podcast soon
Oh,
about the stem
amazing.
cells from the hair
Yes.
follicle.
Okay,
Yeah.
so are you gonna add that in the clinic maybe?
I'm the science behind what they're doing is incredible.
I
Yeah,
know, and
yeah,
it's gonna go even further and further, I
yeah.
think, of what they can do.
It
It's just aesthetics right
it
now.
and it falls under the aesthetics, right? So part of our aesthetics, we also do hair transplant.
Oh,
So that's
wow.
another thing that we do. So the aesthetics is our third division. Our fourth division is our regenerative medicine division. So our
Mm,
regenerative medicine division is we're working with people that have different type of injuries. A lot of athletes, and we utilize stem cell derived products like exosomes, certain
okay.
peptides as well to help regenerate the tissue, etc. And then our last division is our sexual health division for both males and females. So we work with men who have issues with performance, who might be having erectile dysfunction. They might be having decreased libido. It could be a hormonal issue, a blood flow issue. And we have different technologies that help with erectile dysfunction, which include like low frequency shockwave therapy. We utilize Gainswave to do that procedure. And then for females, same thing. Females that postpartum having urinary incontinence, things of that nature. Prolapse. uterus, weak pelvic floor. So we work with females on their sexual health as well too, which we also utilize certain medications and peptides to enhance sexual health.
So peptides is such a big topic.
It is.
And you've tried peptides?
Oh, I love peptides.
And I think you also said last time when I was on your podcast, The Healthy Point of View, which you've had so many amazing guests. Another question I have for you, but we'll keep going with peptides. But you said you do like a nose spray of peptides as well.
So I do
What is your protocol of peptides? And
That's
what
my high definition nasal spray, I call it.
I was like, I
Yeah.
need this.
So that's the Synapsense nasal spray.
Okay.
So I get that from a lab called PD Labs. They're based out of Texas. The pharmacist, the scientist there, he's the main guy who came up with this, and he's treating all kinds of stuff from Alzheimer's, from traumatic brain injury, all kinds of stuff. And what that nasal spray has, it has a few different components to it. It has NR, which is the precursor to NAD,
Yes.
right?
So
Which
amazing.
really allows NAD to get into the cell.
Mhm.
Then it has RG3, which is the most potent root extract of ginseng, from the ginseng root. So it's
Ah,
the potent extract from the ginseng root,
wow.
pharmaceutical grade. And then it has the methylated version of B12.
Wow.
And when you do this first thing in the morning, one spray in each nasal,
Nostril,
right?
yeah.
Yep. And everything's like in high definition. You hear better, see better, speak better. Everything's better.
And you've been doing this for how long?
I'm going on to like about 6 or 7 years at this point.
Every day.
Every day in the morning. It's all natural. These are all natural
Wow.
ingredients.
I know. And I mean, these things too. And
Yeah.
if it makes you feel great, it's like so good. So, what are your other favorite peptides?
So I love tesamorelin. That's
Okay.
a growth
That's
hormone
mine
releasing.
favorite too.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
I
Yeah.
think, I don't know. I did, what's it? Terzepatide, I think for like 2 weeks. But honestly, I felt like I was losing muscle.
Yeah.
So
That's
I
common.
didn't want it. I was like, I can tell, with my workouts and everything. So I was like, I don't like this. Like I
Yeah.
wanted to try it. I heard Ben Greenfield was, microdosing, and I'm like, all right, but I actually didn't like it. But I will say the tesamorelin I think is great, because then you start getting rid of fat and lose
And putting on lean mass.
and
Yeah.
putting on lean mass. Why is this not more popular?
Well, I think it would be more popular if it was cheaper.
Oh, okay.
Because
Yeah.
it's not. It's like one of the most expensive peptides, but it works.
That's
It
why.
is, and it is a FDA approved peptide as well
Yeah,
too.
that
So
too. So you guys offer a full range of peptides.
we do.
And so you have to go through medical and everything.
Right.
I'm curious too, now that Florida is going to have stem cells, donor-based stem cells, are you looking into that now that it's legal?
Yeah, so we've always done exosomes, even with the regulation issues. So we've been actively offering stem cell derived products. But now that we could go like directly into stem cells and get them out of the actual patient and
Yeah.
process them and everything, that is something that, yes, definitely we'll be further looking into and getting involved. Dr. Holland Chan,
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
here out of Miami now.
Yeah.
And he's working with the University of Miami,
Mhm.
doing some research on it. So he's going to be heavily involved on it. And I just had him on the podcast not too long ago, and him and I have been talking of potentially strategically working together on a few projects.
Oh, amazing. I
Yeah.
know. He's big on NAD
Oh,
and
yeah.
everything and NR. I do think that is like the ultimate like hub of health and longevity is increasing your NAD.
Oh,
So
yeah.
all these other medications like rapamycin or metformin, I feel like there's side effects and they don't really do much. Like you have to be taking every day. But I do think increasing your NAD is like the ultimate longevity.
A lot of those things you would hear a lot about, like the metformin, taking it every day. But now there's like so many things that are so much better.
I know.
Yeah. They're a heck of a lot better. And I remember that one episode. This was years back. It was on 2020. And they're talking about the new anti-aging drug, metformin. And it's just like, yeah, fast forward to 2025. There's a lot better things out there now.
I
Yeah.
know. Have you heard of gene therapy, follistatin?
Oh, yeah. I've heard of gene therapy. I don't know too much about gene therapy, but
Okay.
yeah.
I think that's down the line of like going to be very beneficial for people. People are loving stem cells it's been a game changer for a lot of people who have dealt with injuries or some type of issues. So
Oh, yeah.
that's a big one. So quick question. What have you done? Have you done exosome stem cells, gene therapy? What is your, or you just stick to typical peptides and daily
Um,
IVs?
so I do exosomes minimum once a year.
Okay.
Yeah, I usually do an IV. Now,
Okay.
if I have any kind of
Face? Do you do a
no, I haven't.
exosome facial?
That is the one that I haven't done, and
Ah,
the funny thing is that the medical esthetician, she's like a 30-year medical esthetician, very, I mean, very knowledgeable, that works at her office. Every time I go to the office, the clinic's, in a different, area than the corporate office. Corporate office is off-site about, give or take, like 5 miles away. But when I go to the actual clinic, she's always like, "When can I do your facial? When can I do your facial? Come on." And mind you, I could go really whenever I want, but I just haven't done the facial yet. Yeah, yeah.
wow. No PRP in the hair or
No,
anything.
haven't done that either.
Maybe
Yeah.
acorn. Maybe
Probably once,
I don't
yeah,
know, you might
yeah.
have to grow your hair out for them to pluck your hair
He
follicles.
I asked him that. I said, "I don't have much hair." He says, "Oh, no, that's the best." That's what he always says. All we need is a little
Really?
tiny bit." I said, "Okay, well, you're the expert."
I
So,
had Dr. Drew actually come to my place and take my own hair from,
nice.
and I was like, "This is interesting, just plucking my hair." And you're always like thinking as a woman, you're like, "Please don't take all my hair."
Yeah, yeah. No, I think the reason why I haven't done the facial, the microneedling, is that I'm always on camera. So it's just
Mm.
like, I gotta have a little bit of
It's
downtime.
hard,
Yeah,
right? I
yeah,
know when you're on social and you do so much podcasting. I
I
mean,
do.
you've had so many amazing guests on your podcast. It's so crazy because as, a host of a podcast, you really learn a lot of amazing
Oh,
information
you do, you
and
do.
you get to know so many products and so many ways of being healthy. So what have been your favorite podcasts and what have you learned on interviewing so many people?
You know, you hit the nail on the head. It's like when you're podcasting and you're a podcast host, you're learning stuff. Like today, you learned about the preservative-free IVs and everything, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So for me, same thing. I'm like a student, and I
Yeah.
just because I'm so passionate about this, I'm absorbing all that information. So, like, not too long ago, I had the founder of RGCC, which is a cancer testing lab based out of Greece,
Wait,
and
what?
yeah,
Is it
RGCC.
out yet?
Yeah, it's out. It
Oh
is.
my
We
gosh.
actively do it. So it has the ability the ability to test for cancer. It has the ability to detect cancer at stage 0,
Wow.
and it's all done through blood. So they call it the liquid biopsy. And the things that I was just learning from this guy, it was just incredible. And he's going into like how the science works and this, and I'm asking him, "Are you using AI?" And he's the one who actually told me about artificial intelligence hallucination. Like AI is good, but in the medical field and pharmaceutical field, you got to be careful with AI because AI will create answers that are just they don't exist. And if you give whatever that answer is to a patient, you might kill them. So AI hallucination is a real thing. And I was like, "Oh, I did not know that." So yeah,
I'm a little concerned with AI. I think we're relying on it so much and thinking all the information is correct.
right.
But I mean, I ask it a lot of questions for health and longevity and medical and upload lab work and I'm asking and it doesn't give me the best advice. And there's so many things it's missing. And I mean, people are definitely trying to build the best platform. And I'm talking to a lot of people that are building these AI platforms, but I'm like, well, does this, can you get mold in there? And like, are you gonna implement those types of tests and detoxing? And I don't, it's a very hard situation to gather all that information
Yeah.
and spit out the best information. And right now, I think AI is just looking through Google quickly,
Yeah.
but not really getting all of it.
AI
So
hallucination. I tell you, and this was after I did that podcast, which really made me understand what he was saying.
yeah.
And I remember going on my ChatGPT app and I asked, "Hey, can you give me 100 days? What was the date 100 days before this date?" Right? And it spit out an answer, but it was only like 60 days ago.
Mm.
Where I was just like, okay, well, this is not right because that's only 2 months ago. I asked for 100 days before this date. And I was very clear on the way I asked the question. So then I went back and it says, that's the wrong date. I wrote it to the ChatGPT and then it apologized and gave me the correct date. So that at
It's
that point, I was like, if I was just one of those people that's very dependent on AI, and I would have just like copied and pasted that as my answer to whomever I was sending that to, that would have been a problem. I
I
would have looked like
know.
an idiot.
That's why I'm like, a lot of these things, I'm like, because I know, I'm like, this isn't the best answer.
Right.
So I am a little hesitant with AI. I do appreciate it so much, but at the same time, you have to look everything over and know the subject
Yeah.
so that you can make sure it's the best solution or the best answer. Um, so what is your typical day like as founder of Liquivida? You have all the access to everything. What is your nutrition? You wake up, how do you stay healthy?
So I typically stay away from 5 major foods that Dr. Willicks taught me to really stay away from it, right? Which is rice, potatoes,
Oh,
bread, pasta, and alcohol.
wow.
According to Dr. Willicks, he says those are technically not even for human consumption. If you go back to the caveman days,
Mm,
right? We manipulate it for us to be able to eat it. But I do have substitutes for all of them, right? Potatoes, if I'm doing like mashed potatoes, I'll do cauliflower
mhm,
rice, I'll
mhm.
do cauliflower mashed potatoes. I'll eat pizza, but instead of the breaded pizza, I'll do like an almond flour crust or cauliflower crust. Pasta, I'll do, there's a lentil pasta. There's all kinds of other pastas that are not,
Yeah, there's
you know,
always so many healthy
so many
options.
substitutes.
I know.
But yeah, so I try to, stay away from those 5
Okay.
things. And I'm a nutritional guy, so I take all of my different vitamins throughout the
Throughout the
different parts of
day.
the day. Yeah. And
Binders? Do you take binders at all?
I
Any
I I
parasite cleanses?
I haven't done the parasite cleanse, and I have someone who's coming onto the podcast who does the
Oh,
parasite cleanse stuff that they wanna send me
who?
a kit. I
Who?
don't remember her name off the top of my head, but
Okay.
it's in the next few months. I'm horrible with names, by the way.
Okay.
So, but yeah, so I keep on hearing about all this parasite stuff, and then people are showing, like, pictures,
I
and it look like
know.
these little aliens that are coming out of the
I
body.
had some of
Yeah. Oh,
those.
you did?
Yeah.
Hold on, you
I
did
did
it?
a full test with
Wow.
amazing doctor Matt Cook. He's in San Jose, and now he's all over too, and, he's one of the best, but yeah, I had it all. I had parasites, I had E. coli, I had candida and mold, and so I had to do cleanse, but I think it was so bad at the time, he didn't wanna tell me how bad it was, but he was like, "I think we should put you on parasite medication." And I
Wow.
was like, "Okay." And he's so I did that, and I was also doing rectal ozone, and yeah, I saw parasites come out. I was like, "What
Really?
is this?" I'm like,
Wow.
"I think these are parasites."
Yeah, and the rectal ozone, was that in liquid form?
You just put the ozone in a bag. I learned this
The
from
actual
Dave
gas?
Asprey. Yeah, he was
Okay.
doing this to get rid of mold. So then he was doing this, and actually Ben Greenfield still does this once a week, especially when he travels and just like make sure mold and viruses and stuff. So yeah, so I did that I think for like a year, but I saw things come out just from
Oh,
that,
wow.
and then
Wow.
like colonics and
Oh, that's good. That's good that you did that. That's
we all
awesome.
need to cleanse all this junk in our
Seriously.
stuff.
Could just imagine if you didn't cleanse that, how
Yeah,
you would be feeling.
I think
Yeah.
that can lead to disease. I
Yeah.
mean, when all this stuff is just piling in, you're getting older, so you're putting in more and more toxins that are building up. Your detox pathways are getting less and less, and then, it just starts adding up, and then that's why you start aging and then starting to
Mhm.
have these diseases. So you really have to like keep those detox pathways going and make sure you're not inputting toxins, which is not easy with you know, this current lifestyle that we have with pesticides and toxins everywhere.
Yeah, and those toxins, Dr. Davis, our chief medical officer, my business partner, for about a couple years, we had access to this lab out of Germany. It
Mm.
was called, uh, I forgot the name off the top of my head, but, it'll come to mind. But so the lab out of Germany, they ended up closing down because the owner passed away. He was suffering from cancer for quite a while. He
Wow.
was still working. In this lab this lab could test for over 900 different toxins. But this was the interesting part about it.
900 different toxins.
900 different toxins.
Wow.
The interesting part of it is that it would show that DNA adduct, that toxin, what gene it was connected to, bonded to.
Wow.
So what you would see is the toxin and then the gene that it was affecting causing the gene expression change.
Wow.
And Dr. Davis did a talk to, it was hundreds of cardiologists, traditional allopathic cardiologists, about what he's been utilizing with his patients. And he's talking about this test. It was called the IGL test. I knew it would come to me. See, the
Wow.
IGL test. So the IGL test, and Mark Hyman talked about this test as well too.
He just talked about this test, right?
Not too long ago.
Yeah,
Right.
I was actually
Yeah.
listening to that podcast. Okay.
So the IGL test will show you the actual DNA adduct of what gene it's connected to. So what toxin is connected to what gene. And then the other part of the test, it actually shows that at the cellular level, your mitochondrial health, right? It actually tests the mitochondrial cells. So it shows
Wow.
mitochondrial clumping, mitochondrial potential, all of that stuff. So you'll start seeing, so Dr.
What?
Davis, with patients that had Parkinson's, patients that had cancer, like he could actually pin it down to exactly what toxin was connected to what gene and why that was causing the illness that they had.
Wow.
Crazy stuff. Now we don't have access to the test anymore.
Wow.
Someone needs to come back with this thing ASAP.
That is so
Yeah.
I know. I mean, they're discovering they just came out saying like if you're near golf courses, you're likely now more likely to have Parkinson's. It's like
Yeah.
all these things are
Airports.
contributing to toxins.
Mhm.
Why airports?
Airplane fuel,
Oh my
it's in the air.
gosh. I know I'm like breathing in toxins. Like I know like if it's, the air quality is really bad. Like they were saying in Mexico, a lot of kids now are developing signs of Alzheimer's because
Wow.
they're just and you'll see that. I mean, that goes straight to your nostrils will go straight to the brain. So that's definitely anything. And then we figured out with COVID, okay, that's, going to the brain, you lose your smell. And I interviewed one of the top neurologists and he definitely saw it in part of the brain right here in the frontal lobe due to COVID. And so like I don't think people are thinking of this, but it's like and we live in this society 2025. We have iPhones, Wi-Fi, EMFs, so
Mhm.
it's the pros and cons
The
because it's like I
5G
don't want to be
world.
riding a
Yeah.
horse, for 100 miles for a year and stuff like
Yeah.
I'm grateful for the car and I'm grateful for my iPhone.
No, you're right. And I tell everyone, it's like, if you're that person that still has to go out and have a few drinks, then at least learn how to detoxify your body
Yeah.
from that alcohol, right?
Yeah, be smart about it.
Be smart about it.
It's
Yeah.
like so
Yeah.
you also wrote this book too. So can you give a little explanation of your inspiration behind the book?
Yeah. So, how to win in modern wellness. When I first got into the industry, all of my competitors, everyone, it was like a cutthroat mentality. Like everyone was against each other, but we were all preaching the same thing.
Mm.
We were all saying, "Oh, we want to change the course of medicine. We want people to take that proactive approach to the health. We want to get away from reactive medicine." And I just like one day I just told myself, I was just like, well, it doesn't make sense that everyone's against each other, but we're all like focused on the same goal. Like
I know.
when you look back at in history, right? How would people win is divide and conquer, right? So
Mhm.
why would it be a good choice for us to be divided?
Yeah.
If we continue to do that, the big food companies, big pharma, they're the ones that are going to win.
Yeah.
So that's why told myself, I says, you know what? I'm going to start building relationships with all of my competitors moving forward.
Wow.
And I want to be there as an arm of support as I start learning things. If they have any questions, I'm an open book. So I started doing that, built some very strong relationships. And eventually, what I ended up doing a few years ago is I gave them all a chapter in my book. And we're all
Mm.
talking about how we're winning in the world of modern wellness. So we have guys in there like Jim Donnelly, founder of Restore Hyper Wellness, sold over 800 locations. Ben Crosby with Trip Bar,
Wow.
sold over 600 locations. They have 120 open. Carlton Washington with Forever Young.
Mm.
They've sold 100 and something locations. They have many of them open throughout the nation. So a lot of these experts, business guys, and also doctors that have just done a lot in the longevity space.
Well, and so you created this book to really just help people get started in this space.
Yeah,
What
yeah.
was the most difficult part of growing Liquivida?
You know, the most difficult part, I've always been bootstrapped because I started the company with $500 in my back pocket and I
So
haven't
crazy.
taken money from anyone.
Wow.
So it is tough when you're bootstrapped, but you learn how to make it happen. I'd say the most difficult part is dealing with the regulatory bodies, with everything that we do, because
There's
when
so much.
when you're in functional medicine, you a lot of the treatments you're doing is alternative treatments, right?
Mm,
So they're not FDA approved.
mm.
So we're going based off of case studies of other doctors and maybe some kind of research that's happening in other countries. So sometimes you end up having to deal with your state medical boards, pharmaceutical boards, the FTC, the FDA.
Mm.
So in like myself, even on the distribution side of the IV products, every state's completely different. So sometimes I got to hear from a state like Ohio or South Carolina or North Carolina, and what that does is, like, now I got to hire certain types of attorneys to be
Yeah,
able to handle these different cases that come up. And it can really break the bank. It can easily break the bank, where now
big
it's like you're
time.
just trying to figure out how to keep on operating. So those are things that, um, when you're really trying to grow at a mass scale, you have to be prepared for, because it's one thing to have one longevity clinic, right, where you're kind of like out of the radar per se. But at the point in time that you have multiple locations and you're doing things mass scale, you're no longer kind of just thinking about how to acquire that new customer to come into the door. Now
Mm.
you're talking about, okay, now I have to
Legal.
participate with the different legislative bodies in the different states. I have to work with a group of other people in the industry on lobbying efforts. So
Wow.
the work becomes completely different when you're multi-location. And I got appointed as a chairman of the association, the American IV
Oh,
Association,
yeah. So you're
which,
having a conference this weekend.
yeah, we have a conference this weekend, which, our scientific advisory board is there, and all the big
Oh my
companies.
gosh.
Dr. Dashan Shah's on the scientific
Oh,
advisory
I love
board.
him.
10X Health, Grant Cardone's company,
Oh,
is part
nice.
of the association.
Wow.
So Revive, they're in 47 different countries. So
Wow.
we're bringing all of these different experts, where none of us get paid to do this. We've all volunteered our times. As a matter of fact, we donate every single month. We contribute to be able to afford these things for the industry. Yeah.
Wow. That's so nice. I know a lot of this, and I see this with doctors and everyone really just giving so much of their time trying to get the word out when it comes to health and wellness and longevity, because a lot of us just want the best for people. Like, that's why I love this community so much,
Yeah.
because meeting you, I was like, wow, you hear your background and your inspiration, and it's inspirational. And it's like we're all on this, like, journey together, trying to help people heal and feel their best, which is so important. So, what is the future of Liquivida?
The future of Liquivida. So Liquivida, we're franchisor, so we actively sell franchises.
Okay.
Recently, I did a merger with Ben Crosby with Drip Bar on our
Okay.
franchise side. So Ben is getting the keys as the CEO of Liquivida franchising. So he'll be the CEO of the franchising side plus Drip Bar. I'll be a little bit more focused on doing the things I love doing the best, like being out speaking publicly, which Ben
Mm.
will not do. Um, Doing those things, podcasting, the corporate stores, doing more of the clinical side of the longevity clinics, which are, but when you look at the different franchise models, you're not going to sell a very comprehensive longevity clinic as a franchise. It's too difficult to just sell it to someone who's an investor or something. That's like, the person who's working there has to be, like, all in.
Mm.
So those are our corporate stores where we're doing a lot of those more functional medicine clinical treatments. So we'll be more focused on that, really building it up. We're working with the NFL now as well too.
Wow.
We've partnered up with the Sisters of the NFL, which it's a nonprofit of a bunch of the wives of the NFL players, former
Mm.
NFL players and current. And what we're doing is we're working with the Amen Clinic very closely with the Amen clinics of
Ah, wow.
working with the NFL players that are suffering from traumatic brain injury.
Wow.
So those are protocols that are being developed. There's protocols that are already developed, but we're further developing it with other type of treatment modalities that our doctors are putting together. So we got a lot of cool projects ahead of
Oh
us. A
my
lot of
god.
cool projects.
I
Yeah.
don't know how you do it. Dr. Darshan too, he's like expanding Next Health everywhere. I'm like, how are you running all these clinics, all these conferences everywhere, traveling? I'm like, this is insane.
Teams, you
So
gotta have a team of people.
yeah, you're
Te
doing
but
amazing.
even that,
It's
it's just like every new thing, it's like another full-time job, and it's just like, "Oh, what am I doing to myself?" Yeah,
it's inspirational for
yeah.
sure. So and where can everyone go find Liquivida? And if they are a physician, they want to get involved in franchising, where do they reach out?
Yeah, so you could go to liquivida.com.
Okay.
You'll find all the contact information there. So, we're easy to find, you could just Google Liquivida, or if you wanna find more information about me, you can just type in Sam Tejada on Google and everything will pop up.
Yeah.
So,
And then your podcast,
yeah, my
which I was
podcast.
on, which is amazing.
Yes, yes. A healthy point of view podcast, which, we bring experts from all over the world to talk about the different things we're doing in health, wellness, beauty, and mindset.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I learned so much. You have so much knowledge because you're just around this 24/7 and you really get to learn the best of the best, which is so
Thank you.
amazing. So I'm so excited for Liquivida and the future of Liquivida. And thank you so much for coming on.
No, Jenny, I appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you.